Cockroaches are becoming even harder to kill. That's the new finding of a study that found certain species are developing resistance to really almost all of the insecticides we use to kill them. So what does this mean for our ability to deal with infestations? Joining me to find out is Assistant Professor of Biology at Carleton University, Heath McMillan. Heath, thanks for joining us this morning.
Hi, Lindsey. Thanks for having me.
How do we know cockroaches are developing this resistance?
Right, so the way this is done is often in laboratory studies. We can take insects and expose them to pesticides and see how well they survive, right? So pesticides are designed to injure or kill insects. That's exactly their purpose. So we can test that in the lab. And in this case, it was tested in a field condition.
And each time we sort of change that insecticide, the bugs, I guess, are developing this resistance. So why is this happening?
So, right, so insects are like us, right? They're living organisms, but they're separated from us by about 540, 550 million years of evolution. So their physiology is different from us. So when insecticides are developed, they're developed with the intention of kind of making them specific to insects so that they're toxic chemicals to insects and not toxic to other animals like ourselves, mammals. And so insecticides are targeting specific enzymes or proteins inside insects' bodies that cause it to be toxic and they can't survive anymore.
Heath, is this kind of a question of, the strong survive, so the weak ones will die out and then the strong will survive that resistance and carry on those genes?
Right, so what you're referring to there is natural selection, right? A process by which evolution works, and that's exactly what it is. In any population or group of insects, you have differences among them, right? Just like there's some differences among people, not every cockroach is like every other cockroach. So some of them are better at surviving exposure to these kinds of toxins. So when we expose them to a pesticide, what happens is those that are really susceptible to it will die off, and those that are able to tolerate it will live. And those are the ones that are going to continue to reproduce and start the next generation.
I want to broaden the scope a little bit because it's not just cockroaches we're talking about. There was a 2017 study that found bed bugs also developing a resistance to insecticides. So bed bugs, what else is there?
Right, so both of those examples you're talking about there, cockroaches and bed bugs, those are both pests that infest our homes, right? But on top of that, we have all kinds of crop pests that are developing resistance to these insecticides. So one good example is the Colorado potato beetle. In the U.S. in particular, it's a big pest of potatoes and tomatoes, right? So outside of our own homes, in terms of our food security, this kind of insecticide resistance is really an issue.
So what do we do?
What do we do? Okay, so one of the big things that's being done to combat this kind of thing, number one, is that we need to do a lot of research to come up with new insecticides that'll work better, and we need those insecticides to work in different ways. So there's a lot of different approaches that are being used now to come up with insecticides that work in totally different ways from other ones, because it's harder for insects to develop a resistance to those ones if they're quite dissimilar from the ones that we currently use. Another thing that we're trying to do more, there's a lot of discussion of, is using what's called kind of a multifaceted approach to tackling insects. So if we don't just use pesticides, but we also use physical methods of trapping insects or other methods of capturing them or deterring them, then we can better protect against these kinds of pests.
Heath McMillan, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And Ben, I have to say, I keep looking over to my right, and this board beside me. Can we show this again?
Yes, it's wonderful.
It makes my skin crawl a little bit, not gonna lie.
Fish flies and super cockroaches.
It's that kind of day, isn't it? Bug
Welcome
Friday.
to 2019.
Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe here.
And you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.